Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from. We are joined once again by Dusty the Dog, as we like to call him. He's excited to be here. I hope you guys are all excited to be here. We have a very important topic to talk about today, and that is a report, actually many reports, that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth canceled his trip to Israel. This comes amid reported tensions between Bibi Netanyahu and U.S. President Donald Trump. We're going to get into all of that and much more. Before we do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment with your thoughts below. Dusty wants to hear your comments about what you think about the crisis in the Middle East, the United States' role, a potential deal with Iran, our relationship with Israel, and anything else you want to let me know. Sound off in the comments. Now, let's roll into it. As we talked about in the video that was released on May 9th, on Friday, I'm filming this on May 10th, which is Saturday. There have been serious tensions reportedly between the Trump administration and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, centered around getting a deal done with Iran and a diplomatic solution, or choosing the military option to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. The United States and President Donald Trump are adamant that we must pursue a peaceful resolution. The Israelis want to go with a military strike. The problem for the Israelis is they do not have the gear, the equipment, the planes, or the bombs to take out underground facilities. Only the United States does, and thus they would need to get us to do it for them. And so far, President Trump has chosen to prioritize peace and getting a diplomatic deal with the Iranians over bombing them. Now, having said that, Trump has also been very clear that if peace fails, we will absolutely use the military option, which is why Diego Garcia is currently loaded up with at least 6 B-2 stealth bombers and other long-range strategic bombers as well. So that's kind of the backdrop here. Things are not going well between Trump and Netanyahu. It's a very icy relationship at the moment. It's a bit testy. Trump is reportedly very frustrated. And keep in mind, this comes as well as it was reported that Mike Waltz, the fired national security advisor, was allegedly talking behind Trump's back with the Israelis to try to put together an Iran strike package. And when Trump found out that Waltz was talking behind his back, he was livid. And there was also reporting that Trump had to essentially wave off an Israeli attack that would have not really been able to do much against Iran. So that's the backdrop here. That's everything we're dealing with that sets this stage. Then there was a bombshell report. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you all right now. This was a report from Axios, and this comes amid the tension, and it claims that Pete Hegseth canceled a trip to Israel. And let's go ahead and read this. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth canceled his trip to Israel, which had been planned for Monday, in order to join President Trump on Air Force One for his trip to the Middle East, according to 3 Israeli and U.S. officials. Why it matters. Trump inviting Hegseth to travel with him to the Middle East is a signal that the president continues to embrace his Secretary of Defense even amid the storms that have surrounded him over the last 3 months. In an interview with NBC's Kristen Welker last week, Trump said Hegseth is doing a very good job and that his job as Secretary of Defense is totally safe. Behind the scenes, according to an Israeli official, Hegseth's trip plan to Israel has been ready for several days. He was supposed to meet his counterpart, Israel Katz, and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Briefings aboard an Israeli Navy ship off the coast of Gaza were also on the agenda, the official says. The plan was for Hegseth to travel to Saudi Arabia from Israel on Tuesday and join Trump's visit. Trump is going to Saudi Arabia here in a few days. We're going to talk about that in a moment and how that ties into this. But on Thursday, Hegseth's team notified the Israeli Minister of Defense that the trip is canceled because President Trump asked Hegseth to travel with him from Washington to Saudi Arabia on Air Force One, an Israeli official said. 2 U.S. officials confirmed this account. So that is the Axios report claiming that Hegseth canceled this trip to Israel with the backdrop of tensions. However, then Sean Parnell, who is a spokesperson at the Department of Defense, I'll put this up on the screen for everyone here. He tweeted out, Secretary Hegseth did not cancel his trip to Israel. He was asked to join President Trump's Middle East trip next week and is honored to do so. SecDef very much looks forward to visiting our ally Israel very soon. So you have Axios reporting that Hegseth's trip, I believe planned for Monday, was canceled. Instead, he is going along with Trump to Saudi Arabia. Then you have Parnell come out and say, no trip was canceled. Essentially, we're just going to do it at a different time. Both of those things are technically can be true at the same time, in the sense that he's obviously not going. He's obviously not going to Israel. He is going to Saudi Arabia, but maybe they will meet with the Israelis down the road. But for now, Hegseth's planned trip is absolutely not happening. There's more to this situation that gets it a little bit more complex, and that ties to a deal that Trump reportedly might be ready to announce in Saudi Arabia when he gets there, dealing with the people in Gaza, dealing with the military crisis in the war. Let's go ahead and get into that right now. So there's also a huge update with the United States' reported stance on reaching a deal with Saudi Arabia for civil nuclear cooperation. And it had long been that the U.S. policy was Saudi Arabia had to normalize relations with Israel in order to get that deal. According to Reuters, this is a report from Reuters that was released on May 8th, that may no longer be the case. It said the United States is no longer, let me throw this up on the screen for y'all. It says the United States is no longer demanding Saudi Arabia normalize ties with Israel as a condition for progress on civil and nuclear cooperation talks. Two sources with knowledge of the matter told Reuters ahead of President Trump's visit next week. Dropping the demand that Saudi Arabia establish diplomatic relations with Israel would be a major concession by Washington. Under former President Joe Biden, nuclear talks were an element of a wider U.S.-Saudi deal tied to normalization and to Riyadh's goal of a defense treaty with Washington. So that comes from Reuters. This one that I'm going to throw up also deals with a potential deal being made. This is from the Jerusalem Post. It says a Gulf diplomatic source who declined to be named or disclose his position told the media line President Donald Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and American recognition of it, and that there will be the establishment of a Palestinian state without the presence of Hamas. The source also added, if an announcement of American recognition of the state of Palestine is made, it will be the most important declaration that will change the balance of power in the Middle East, and more countries will join the Abraham Accords. Of course, the Abraham Accords were the deal that Jared Kushner in the first term hammered out in an attempt to bring peace to the region. So that's kind of where all this is at now. The Trump administration reportedly does not need Saudi Arabia to normalize with Israel in order to get this defense treaty, get this nuclear cooperation. And Trump might declare a state for the Palestinians that would not obviously include Hamas, who's been at war with Israel going back to October 7th of 2023. Where do we go from here? What is my read on this situation, and how should we all be viewing this? Let's get into that right now. The way I look at this and the way I break down the information in front of us is I don't think it's a coincidence that Hegseth's trip to Israel didn't happen amid reports that Trump might be reaching a broad peace deal in the Middle East or reaching a big deal with Saudi Arabia, with the people of Gaza, and as he pushes forward with a potential peace deal with Iran. Remember, there were reports that we talked about in the last video on May 9th that Trump has essentially made the decision he's not going to wait around for Israel to get some peace deals done. He's not going to wait for Israel to do what they want to do or to pressure, in his view, pressure his administration and the United States to do something that they don't want to do, specifically going to war with Iran. Trump hates war. He doesn't want to go to war with Iran, and he wants a peaceful solution. As we've talked about at length, the Israelis view it very differently, but unfortunately for the Israelis, they lack the military capacity to actually take out the underground facilities, which is why, to some extent, their opinion is much less relevant and holds much less weight, because the job of the President of the United States is to look out for the people of America. That's the top priority. It's not a different country. It's not any country. It's the United States of America. And I think right now there's a lot of gamesmanship, statesmanship going on to signal to the Israelis that they either get in line and play ball as Trump wants them to, or the Trump administration will just push forward with their peace deals and they'll be left out of them and they'll be sidelined. Those are the two options that appear given the information we have. So it's very interesting. It's very fluid. It appears that Trump is charging forward with trying to get some deals done. Of course, nothing is done until it's finally done. But I want you to let me know in the comments below, what do you think about Trump's moves? What do you think about Hegseth's trip not happening, whether it's canceled, rescheduled, depending on who you believe? We put both of the information out there. You guys can decide what you think is more credible. But let me know in the comments what you think about all of it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you know when there's a new video coming. And as always, I'll see y'all next time.